Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Good. I wish that I was rather like my band, width, not very wide. But it's not to be.
We're having problems with the internet, aren't we? Your bandwidth is not wide enough.
Yeah.
So we may have bad pictures and bad sound, so let's hope not.
We hope not. So we're continuing, aren't we? Jesus is going to tell us about what's going to happen to him.
He is.
And as we will no doubt find out, the real call of discipleship is about to be explained.
It is. Should we have our pause?
Let's go for a pause. I won't get up this time, though, because the window is still closed. It's been closed all week. Pause.
Pause.
Matthew 16, 21
to the end.
To 28, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of part 2, following straight on from last week when we heard Peter and Jesus talking about who Jesus was, so revealing his identity, and then Peter having his vocation revealed after that. So this is what happens next. From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "God forbid it, Lord, this must never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Interesting stuff.
Yep. We're down to the central point of what Jesus' own ministry is about. He's now turning his mind, his vision towards what's going to happen. He's off to Jerusalem, and as he puts it, he will undergo great suffering at the hands of people, men particularly. He'll be tried unjustly. He'll be beaten and flogged. And eventually they'll put him on a cross and he'll die. And for many, that would seem to be the end. But no, because on the third day, he's going to be raised. God's great promise that Jesus' death once and for all defeats death for all of us. When we die, it isn't the end. It may be physically, but there's more to come. And we don't know what it's going to be like. People ask me regularly, what will it be like? And I have to be honest and say I have no more insight than they do. But I believe it's going to be a far greater place than where we are at the moment. So all that goes on. And of course, Peter, God bless him, he's there again. And he starts to tell Jesus off, doesn't he?
He does. Foolish man.
You can't do it. You can't do that. You've just told me I've got to work with you to build this church or to do something. You give me some keys and there's not a building to do anything with. But I've got them. I've looked after them for you. That's still in my rucksack. And Peter feels the wrath of Jesus again. Oh, for heaven's sake, stop it. Just listen to what I've got to say. And again, he tells them, doesn't it? It's all about, if you want to follow and see this all the way through, then you've got to give up your life to what you're doing now and follow me. Because John tells us, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Mm. And Jesus is saying to them, here you are. You've got to follow me. Give up your old life, take up the new life, and all will be well. But that does mean, of course, it won't be easy.
Well, no, because
being a Christian is never...
No. Well, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because it all centres around the cross. So it's Jesus saying, I'm heading to the cross. And that's what triggers Peter to say, no, don't die. Because, of course, he loves him. Why would he want him to? But it's this misunderstanding of Peter that he can stop it, because this is the whole point of the whole thing, isn't it? That it's heading to the cross so we can have the resurrection and new life. And when we say the Lord's Prayer with the messy church actions for kingdom, we always stretch out our arms like on the cross, because actually that's the fruition of the kingdom, isn't it? It's the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is about the kingdom coming. That's what has to happen to bring in this new kingdom. And then, of course, for us as Christians, our calling to follow is all about the cross too, because it's about what happened for us on the cross. And it's also about us knowing that suffering is going to be part of our journey too. So, in attractive offers, it's lacking a little taking up our cross, except, of course, it's not, because it gives us the most amazing gift we could ever want, which is life forever with God. But yeah, the cross is central to all of this, isn't it? To Jesus's purpose, to his calling, to Peter's vocation, to the life of the kingdom, to our freedom, and to our calling as followers of Jesus. The cross is central to all of it.
You see, I think the cross is the keys to the kingdom of heaven, isn't it? Mm. As Peter found out last week.
I could be completely wrong, but I see verse 28 when Jesus says, truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Actually, that he's talking there about the crucifixion, not about the second coming or their own. He's talking about the coming of the kingdom is that point of crucifixion that leads through to resurrection and new life. So yeah, the keys of the kingdom are there. Hanging, that's the key, isn't it? Death, which brings new life.
And of course I couldn't for one moment accuse you of being wrong. So you're absolutely right.
Well, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong.
No, it's absolutely right. That's what it's telling us. Yeah. The cross, our own suffering, our own what we have to take up as Christians, because, as I said earlier, being a Christian is never easy. Jesus never promised that it would be easy. It takes on all kinds of things for ourselves. It's not just the taunts and the silly comments and the barbed comments about, it's a crutch and all the rest. It's far deeper than that, because it's about carrying out what Jesus stands for, and that's fighting and standing up for injustice, fighting all that is wrong. As I said a few weeks ago, actually seeing that food banks shouldn't happen and shouldn't be there because they're unjust and not right. And that's the cross for many. How do we defeat all of that? And the hatred of one man for another because of the colour of their skin, or belittling a woman because she's seen as a sex object in many people's eyes, etc., etc. And that's part of carrying the cross. So it's a wonderful story, and it's one of my favourites.
It is, and I think it's about, when Jesus says to Peter, you're setting your mind on your on earthly things, human things, but not divine things. And I think that for us is often the challenge, isn't it? Because we get terribly carried away in what we want and what success we want to bring and all this kind of stuff and what our desires and hopes are. And if we're not careful, the whole scope of our life becomes our desires instead of what God wants for us. So, you know, for me, the cross is a little bit about letting go of some of the stuff that we think we need and want, and just sort of nailing that stuff to the cross, like ambition and success and power and money and material stuff and consumerism, and nail all that to the cross. And then what are you left with? Compassion, love, justice, mercy, forgiveness. That's the stuff we carry into life.
And that's part of what Peter was having to face up to over the few stories we've heard over the last few weeks, isn't it?
Really?
That without giving up all of that, and without recognising that Jesus is the Son of the living God, the Messiah, of which the whole world will change because of him, it's a big story. And I think many people who've answered their call to their own discipleship, their own ministry, whether ordained or lay people, have realised that you have to give up a lot, because without giving it up first, it becomes the proverbial millstone round your neck.
Yeah.
And you can't follow Jesus if you're being hindered in any way. But it's tough. It is very, very tough.
So if, dear viewer, you've been watching this and you think, hang on, there's something in this for me, perhaps there's some stuff to be let go of, perhaps it's the first time you've felt that call on your life from God and Jesus saying, come follow me, then go for it. You don't need us to do anything. All you have to do is say yes and go for it. But if you want to talk about any of this, if you think that God might be calling you to something new, to recognising your vocation as part of God's kingdom, we would love to talk to you, pray with you, help you facilitate that. But yeah, if there's something niggling with you, be courageous and explore it with God, because you never know quite where God is going to take you next.
Absolutely, 100%.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. That was lovely. I'll see you again next week in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll try and get the windows open before then, if I can.
All right, then. See you. Oh, gosh. Follow us on social media. Oh, you know the normal stuff. We'll see you soon.
It's all going to come on the screen because Harry does such a marvellous job.
He does. Lovely. See you soon. Bye.